The mansion was cloaked in darkness, only the faint glow of chandeliers reflecting off marble floors. John Romano's hand trembled as it hovered over the phone. The gunshot had shattered the silence, leaving the body of Vincent Moretti sprawled across the grand hall. John whispered, "It's done. The king is dead." His breath caught in his chest as he saw the blood pooling beneath the lifeless form. He thought of loyalty, of years of blind obedience. Every shadow seemed to move, every creaking floorboard a threat. The world felt heavier, as if the empire itself mourned. Was this revenge, or had he merely played into someone else's plan? The night seemed endless. The aftermath was suffocating. John walked through the hall, his eyes scanning every shadow for threats. Memories of loyalty, blood, and betrayal collided in his mind. Every painting, every chandelier reminded him of the life he was leaving behind. The empire's weight pressed down on him, the silence louder than any gunshot. He could feel the eyes of the world, judging, waiting for his next move. "I have to finish this," he muttered, voice barely above a whisper. The mansion felt alive, as if it remembered the crimes committed within its walls. Every footstep echoed in the emptiness. In the study, the documents told the story of power and greed. John flipped through the ledgers and photos, the empire's sins etched on paper, faces of allies and enemies blurred together. He felt the weight of knowledge crushing him. "So much blood, all for what?" he murmured. Betrayal lingered in every corner. The closer he got, the darker the truth became. Loyalty was currency, and he was bankrupt. Every whisper seemed to echo from the shadows, warning him of danger. His past and future collided violently in this quiet, deadly room. Outside, the city hummed obliviously. The mafia's reach extended beyond these walls, into streets, alleys, and penthouses. John leaned against the balcony railing, staring at neon reflections in puddles below. He felt the pulse of power and corruption intertwined. "They think they control everything, but they don't," he whispered. A hint of defiance in his voice. The wind carried the scent of rain and gasoline, blending with the tension in his chest. The game had just begun, and every choice now could tip the balance. He was both hunter and hunted. Footsteps approached. John turned sharply, instincts honed over years. The enforcer emerged from shadows, expression unreadable, hands clasped behind back. "It begins tonight," he said simply. No further words were needed. The air thickened with anticipation, every heartbeat sensing with danger. John's mind raced with strategies, alliances, and revenge. One wrong step could cost everything. The night was a prelude, a calm before storms of violence, betrayal, and blood. John's empire, built on loyalty and fear, teetered on the edge of chaos. The city slept under a veil of neon rain, unaware of the war brewing in its veins. John Romano paced the dimly lit office, maps and dossiers scattered across the polished mahogany desk. Every detail mattered. Alliances could crumble with a single misstep. The enforcer leaned against the wall, silent and calculating, watching John's mind race. "Time moves fast," John muttered, fingers drumming the desk. His empire demanded vigilance, yet fatigue clawed at him. Shadows danced across the room, stretching long fingers over secrets and lies. Outside, sirens wailed. Somewhere, someone waited. The night carried whispers of betrayal. A knock on the heavy wooden door made both men stiffen. It was Maria DeLuca, the family's consigliere, with eyes sharp as daggers. "The Italians are making moves," she warned. John's jaw tightened. Every choice carried blood on its hands. He had to anticipate, calculate, and strike before enemies moved. The room felt alive with strategy, every shadow a possible enemy. Maria's presence was a reminder of loyalty and cunning, a counterbalance to the enforcer's silent menace. Plans would unfold tonight, alliances would fracture, and John had to remain one step ahead. The storm outside mirrored the one within these walls. The strategy session lasted hours. John traced routes on maps, whispered names, and debated moves. Every decision could tip the balance of power. The enforcer remained silent, occasionally nodding, his eyes calculating threats invisible to others. Maria spoke of betrayals and opportunities, her voice steady, a calm in the storm. John's mind raced, considering every angle. One wrong call could ignite war. The room was heavy with cigarette smoke and anticipation. Outside, rain streaked the city lights. Inside, a quieter, deadlier storm raged. He realized that leadership demanded sacrifice, cunning, and ruthless precision. Night deepened, and John knew action was inevitable. Vehicles lined the deserted streets, engines humming like restless beasts. The enforcer checked weapons, every motion precise. Maria relayed intel on rival movements, eyes scanning monitors, calculating odds. John felt the weight of command pressing on his shoulders. Every second mattered, every choice had consequences. The city outside throbbed with danger, each alley a potential battlefield. "We move at first light," John said, voice cold and resolute. The quiet before the storm carried the tension of imminent violence. Loyalty, fear, and power collided silently in the dark. Dawn approached. John watched from the rooftop, city sprawling beneath him. The streets seemed calm, deceivingly so. The enforcer and Maria flanked him, silent but alert. Every plan, every betrayal, every alliance had led to this moment. John felt the pulse of the underworld beneath his feet. The world they controlled was fragile, delicate, balanced on fear and strategy. One spark could ignite chaos. "Today, we reclaim everything," he murmured. The wind carried the scent of rain and concrete, and with it, the promise of blood. The Empire's future was about to be written. The sun barely pierced the smog of the city, as John Romano surveyed the district from the shadows. Gunfire echoed in the distance, signaling rival factions testing his control. The enforcer stood beside him, stoic and ready, scanning every alley. Maria DeLuca crouched near a rooftop edge, eyes sharp, calculating angles. John felt the weight of every life under his command, every decision a razor's edge. He whispered plans under his breath, each syllable measured. The underworld was a chessboard, and today, every piece would move with deadly precision. The storm of conflict was imminent, and only the strongest would survive. Sirens wailed closer, and the streets became a labyrinth of danger. John led the strike team through narrow alleys, careful not to reveal their position. The enforcer's movements were fluid, precise, neutralizing threats silently. Maria relayed intel through an earpiece, her calm voice guiding every step. Tension surged with every corner turned. Ambushes were expected, yet their presence remained unnoticed. John's pulse quickened, each heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the underworld. The city held its breath. This was the culmination of months of strategy, and failure was not an option. Shots rang out as rival gangs clashed. John and his team moved like shadows, decisive and ruthless. The enforcer's blade struck with surgical efficiency. Maria directed movements, calling coordinates and noting weak points. John's mind raced, every move calculated, every breath purposeful. Chaos reigned around them, yet the trio maintained order within the storm. Allies fell, enemies screamed, but they pressed forward, each step closer to dominance. The city was alive with fear, and the Romano family's power surged through the veins of the streets. Victory demanded sacrifice. After the skirmish, silence fell over the district. Bodies littered the ground, and the smell of gunpowder lingered. John surveyed the aftermath, eyes cold, calculating the cost of victory. The enforcer cleaned his blade, stoic as ever. Maria checked their communications, ensuring no loose ends remained. The city's underworld whispered of the Romano family's dominance. John felt the fragile balance of power shift firmly in his favor. Every move, every strike, every sacrifice had led to this moment. The cost was high, but the message was clear. Their empire would not be challenged lightly. The Romano family's empire solidified with every fallen enemy. John stood atop a skyscraper, the city sprawling endlessly below. The enforcer and Maria flanked him, unwavering and loyal. Plans for expansion, control, and consolidation formed silently in John's mind. The streets feared them. Rivals respected them. The city thrummed beneath their feet, alive and obedient. Power had a price, and John had paid it in blood and strategy. Yet the empire's future glimmered like dawn, strong, unbroken, and undeniable. The Romano legacy would echo through the underworld for generations. The Romano Empire faced its first true test as a mysterious alliance of rival gangs formed against them. John Romano scanned the map of territories, each marked in red with encroaching threats. The enforcer stood silently behind him, muscles tense, ready for combat at a moment's notice. Maria DeLuca examined the latest intel on her tablet, her eyes narrowing at each new detail. Every ally and enemy moved like pieces on a chessboard, but the stakes had never been higher. John knew one mistake could unravel everything they had built. The city waited in tense anticipation, oblivious to the storm brewing in the shadows. Late at night, John led a covert meeting in a hidden warehouse. Plans of counterattack unfolded in hushed whispers. The enforcer moved silently among crates, scanning for eavesdroppers. Maria analyzed enemy patterns, her finger tracing routes across the digital map. John's mind worked faster than ever, predicting enemy strategies and preparing contingencies. The weight of responsibility pressed on him, but he remained resolute. One wrong move, and rivals would exploit it. Every detail mattered. Loyalty, precision, and timing were their only weapons against a city determined to rise against them. The first clash erupted at the docks as rival gangs attempted to seize control of shipments. John coordinated the attack from the shadows, issuing precise orders to his team. The enforcer neutralized threats swiftly, moving like a predator through chaos. Maria's calm voice over the earpiece guided reinforcements, calculating every approach and retreat. Bullets flew and crates shattered, yet the Romano faction maintained discipline. The city's underworld witnessed a display of ruthless strategy and coordination. Power was not only held, it was enforced methodically without hesitation. The battle escalated across the city as rival factions attempted to push back. John and his team moved like shadows, unpredictable yet disciplined. The enforcer dismantled threats with deadly accuracy, leaving nothing to chance. Maria tracked movements, her analytical mind predicting enemy reactions before they occurred. John felt the weight of every decision. One misstep could cost lives and destroy the empire. The city was a battlefield, but the Romano family had mastered it. Each calculated strike reinforced their dominance, leaving the opposition trembling under their methodical might. At dawn, the city fell silent. The Romano Empire had survived the onslaught, their power stronger than ever. John stood overlooking the city, contemplative yet resolute. The enforcer cleaned his weapons, a silent guardian. Maria reviewed intel one last time, ensuring no loose ends remained. The cost had been immense, yet every sacrifice solidified their dominance. Rivals were scattered, alliances shattered, and the Romano legacy shone brighter than ever. Power came at a price, but John and his family had proven it was worth paying. The underworld had been reminded who truly controlled it. Rumors of a new unseen enemy reached John Romano at dawn. The city was quiet, almost unnervingly so, but the calm was deceptive. Intelligence hinted at an insider betrayal, someone close enough to strike without warning. The enforcer tightened his grip on his weapon, scanning shadows for anomalies. Maria's fingers moved swiftly over her tablet, tracing patterns and predicting risks. Every corner of the city became a potential trap. Key. John's mind raced through strategies, weighing loyalty against suspicion. The empire was strong, but vulnerability lurked in unexpected places. By midday, the betrayal became evident. A trusted lieutenant had aligned with rivals, undermining the Romano network from within. John's jaw tightened as he processed the betrayal. The enforcer moved swiftly to secure loyal operatives, protecting key assets. Maria identified vulnerabilities and countermeasures, her mind calculating every possible outcome. The underworld watched, unaware of the silent war erupting behind closed doors. Trust, loyalty, and ruthless action became weapons as John prepared to strike at the heart of treachery. Night fell, and the final confrontation began in the heart of the city. Streets burned with chaos as rival factions clashed with the Romano family. John moved like a shadow through the conflict, issuing precise commands. The enforcer neutralized enemies with calculated force, each strike methodical and exact. Maria coordinated movements from a secure vantage, her calm voice guiding allies to outmaneuver the opposition. The city became a chessboard of fire and steel, every move decisive, every strike a message. The Romano Empire would not fall. Dawn broke again, revealing the aftermath of the citywide conflict. John surveyed the streets, now eerily silent. The enforcer cleaned weapons, eyes scanning for any remaining threats. Maria reviewed the final intelligence, ensuring the Romano Empire's control was absolute. Allies and rivals alike had witnessed the cost of challenging their authority. Victory had been claimed, but at the expense of trust and countless lives. Power came with sacrifice, and John understood that more than ever. The city now recognized who truly ruled the shadows. In the quiet that followed, John, Maria, and the enforcer gathered atop their headquarters. Silence spoke louder than words. Their empire had survived, their power solidified, yet the city's underworld remained unpredictable. John knew new threats would rise, but for now, the Romano family had proven unstoppable. They had mastered strategy, loyalty, and ruthlessness. Their legacy was secured in the shadows, their influence unchallenged. The city slept unaware, but in the hidden corners, the Romano name was feared, respected, and immortalized. Weeks had passed since the final confrontation, yet tension lingered like a shadow. John Romano walked through his private office, reflecting on the cost of absolute power. The city was calm, but the underworld whispered of new alliances. Maria analyzed market fluctuations and intelligence reports, predicting moves before they happened. The enforcer cleaned and maintained weapons, ever ready. Loyalty had survived the storm, but scars ran deep. Trust was precious, fragile, and only true skill ensured survival. The Romano Empire had endured, but nothing remained permanent. A mysterious message arrived, encrypted and untraceable. John studied it carefully, eyes narrowing at its subtle threats. It hinted at rivals rising beyond the city's limits. Maria decrypted layers of security while the enforcer scanned their surroundings. The Romano Empire, though dominant, could never be complacent. Every victory invited new challenges. Their network of spies, allies, and loyalists would be tested again. The shadow of the future stretched far beyond their walls, demanding strategy, vigilance, and courage. Nightfall brought a rare calm, yet John knew it was fleeting. He stood on the balcony, surveying a city sleeping in ignorance. The enforcer remained close, guarding silently, while Maria planned contingencies. Their empire was intact, but power was never permanent. Shadows moved, rumors spread, and unseen eyes watched. The Romano family had conquered the chaos, but the game never ended. Preparation, foresight, and loyalty would be their weapons, as threats beyond sight would test them once again. In private, John, Maria, and the enforcer reviewed past conflicts. Every battle had taught them something. Loyalty must be earned, power must be wielded wisely, and betrayal could appear in the smallest cracks. Their plans extended beyond the city, mapping potential threats worldwide. They were no longer just survivors. They were strategists, rulers of the shadows. Even in peace, vigilance remained essential. Every decision now shaped the future of their empire and defined their legacy. As dawn rose, the trio stood together atop their headquarters. The city stretched endlessly before them, unaware of the silent guardians above. John's gaze was calm but vigilant. Maria's mind calculated possibilities, and the enforcer remained ready for any threat. Their empire was secure, their influence unchallenged, yet the future remained uncertain. One thing was clear: the Romano name had become legend, feared and respected across the shadows. They had endured, conquered, and survived, and their story was far from over. The city slept under a velvet night sky, while atop the tallest tower, John Romano surveyed the streets below. He felt the familiar weight of leadership pressing against his shoulders, a burden he bore with quiet determination. Maria DeLuca stood beside him, analyzing every potential vulnerability on her portable holographic map. The enforcer remained vigilant, eyes scanning shadows for the faintest hint of danger. John recalled how far they had come, from isolated struggles to controlling unseen networks stretching across the city. Each decision had shaped not just their fates, but countless others, intertwining lives in patterns of trust, betrayal, and ambition. The wind teased Mariah's hair as she spoke softly, reminding them that foresight was their only shield. The enforcer's steady presence reassured John that loyalty and vigilance could never be compromised. Together, they represented a balance of strategy, strength, and foresight, their unity a silent declaration of power, awareness, and the promise of legacy that would endure far beyond the present night. Suddenly, a digital alert flickered across Maria's holographic display, red warning lines slicing through the night's calm. John's jaw tightened instinctively as he recognized the signature of a rival they thought long defeated. Maria's fingers danced over controls, unraveling the layers of encryption, revealing a network sprawling beyond known territories. The enforcer moved smoothly, checking every access point and monitoring blind spots with practiced precision. John considered the implications. Even seasoned power could be threatened, yet he remained resolute. They had survived countless challenges, but each new adversary tested more than skill. It demanded anticipation, coordination, and nerves of steel. As tension crackled in the air, Maria's calm analysis reminded them that intelligence and foresight could turn the tide, while the enforcer's unwavering vigilance embodied the strength needed to defend their empire. Together, they prepared for the storm, knowing the city below remained oblivious to the silent war unfolding above, and that every choice now carried consequences stretching across borders, shadows, and loyalties. Night deepened as John, Maria, and the enforcer stepped onto the rooftop once more. The city's glittering lights stretched endlessly, a backdrop of both opportunity and hidden danger. John spoke calmly, articulating strategy and reminding them that patience, foresight, and trust were their greatest weapons. Maria confirmed contingency plans, scanning each skyline sector with unerring precision. The enforcer's eyes swept across rooftops and alleys, every nerve alert, every motion calculated. They had become more than a team. They were a triad of authority, intellect, and unwavering strength. Their past victories had forged resilience, yet they knew the world remained unpredictable. Tonight, they stood not just as rulers of the shadows, but as guardians of balance, a living demonstration that power tempered with strategy endured, where brute force alone would fail. Each silent moment reinforced their understanding that vigilance and loyalty were the ultimate legacies, as the city slept unaware beneath their watchful gaze. A rare, quiet moment settled as the trio paused to reflect. John gazed at distant stars, contemplating the empire they had carved and the sacrifices etched into every memory. Maria stood near him, calculating risk, assessing every possible scenario with precision. The enforcer remained steady, a living symbol of unwavering loyalty and protection. Rumors of new adversaries whispered through the underworld, yet their presence above remained commanding, almost mythic. They had learned that influence was fragile, and that control demanded foresight, patience, and absolute vigilance. Every glance, every decision rippled through unseen networks, binding allies and deterring enemies alike. In these moments of calm, they reaffirmed their unity, their understanding that power was only enduring when guided with intelligence, strategy, and trust. Together, they were no longer mere survivors. They were legends, shaping destinies, guardians of the delicate balance between order and chaos. As dawn broke, spilling gold across the horizon, the trio remained on the rooftop, guardians of a city unaware of the invisible forces shaping its fate. John's hand rested on the railing, a calm, resolute presence embodying authority. Maria's gaze was sharp, mind already calculating potential threats and opportunities in the new day. The enforcer remained vigilant, posture unwavering, senses alert. They had survived storms, forged alliances, and established dominance, yet the horizon promised fresh challenges. Legacy was no longer a concept. It was tangible, etched into the skyline, the networks, and the very air they breathed. Together, they would meet the future with intelligence, strength, and loyalty, knowing that the story of power, strategy, and vigilance never truly ended. It only evolved. Each sunrise reminded them that triumph was fleeting, but unity and foresight ensured their influence would endure beyond shadows, beyond threats, beyond time itself.